Hey everyone, welcome back to Casey 3D Sparks. Today it's Christmas, so Merry Christmas everyone. I hope you have a wonderful day. I just wanted to do probably a quick and easy tutorial since most of you might not even be on YouTube today, but we'll see. So I just wanted to keep up the tradition of the every Tuesday video. But since it is Christmas, I wanted to go ahead and do a Christmas present that we could put underneath the tree that we made last week. And maybe if we have time, we could go into how to transform it into a mimic. So we'll go ahead and dive right in. I'm gonna go ahead and hop to this empty layer here, which is not too empty because I did try out a few things earlier, but we're gonna go ahead and do Shift A, Mesh, Cube. And also what you might want to do to start off is make sure that you do go into your scene tabs, make sure you are working in the units that you prefer. And I changed mine to, or the scale of my grid floor to 1/4 of an inch. So this cube that we added is 6 inches. I'm just gonna go ahead and do 1 by 1 by 1. Doesn't really matter here. You could always just model it and then resize it once you're done. But I just figured the 1 by 1 would work easier for our grid floor so we could actually use it. So I'm gonna go ahead and tab into edit mode and make sure I'm on vertex select here. And basically just gonna kind of figure out how I want my lines to be set up. So I do want it to have an edge for the box lid. So maybe about there, or it'll be that big. I'm not doing anything precise here. And then we'll do Control R, scroll up once to get 2 loops this way, and Control R to get 2 loops that way. Then what we can do is switch to face select mode and do Alt right click this outer loop here for our box edge. So I'm going to hit E to extrude and just hit escape so it stays there. S, Shift Z so it sizes out and not up and down. Maybe about there for our box edge lip, nothing too dramatic. And of course, you don't have to do the box edge lip unless you want to. You could just skip over that and do the ribbons. But if you do decide you want the box edge, you'll want to make sure after you do that, you fix your lines here. So we'll do SX0, SX0, SY0, SY0 to get those nice and parallel again. Go ahead and go back into face select, going to grab this loop and that loop. And then I'm going to scroll to the bottom here and I'm going to deselect the bottom ones because I just want the bottom to remain flat. So I'm just going to go to front view and I'm going to hit E to extrude and hit escape. And then I'm just going to size it out a little bit, just enough. Maybe pull it up a little bit. You'll see some of it's kind of clipping here. We'll have to go in and fix these edges. No big deal. So to start off, we'll go ahead and switch back to vertex select mode. Go into wireframe view, border select the bottom, and we can do SZ0. And of course you can drag that back up if you want it to be on that grid line again. We'll go ahead and do SX0. Oops. SX0, go into side view, SY0, and SY0. Beautiful. All right, so let's go ahead and fix these edges real quick. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab each of them. Oops, not that one. Don't need that. And this one. And we'll go ahead and just pull them down like that. All right, kind of get them in view. Now, what we could do to kind of fix that, you'll notice there's still some overlap here because this polygon is not shaped properly. So what my easy solution was to just grab these, do Alt M at last, because then it kind of looks like your ribbon is bowing out anyway around the box lip. So go ahead and do that. So there is our basic box setup. Now for the top, of course, we want to add a bow. The way I wanted to do that was go ahead and go back into face select and we're going to grab these top 3 faces. Then we'll go ahead, actually go into top view. We're going to hit E to extrude and just hit escape, and then we're going to size that in. maybe about there. And I'm gonna add a few more loops because having just these 4 vertices on each of these isn't quite enough. So we're gonna do Control R, add 1 loop this way, Control R, maybe 1 loop there, and another one in between all of those. Now what that lets us do is start rounding out these corners. So I'm gonna grab those 4, size that in. And then I'm also going to grab these 4, size that in like that. And I want this to be, smaller. So I'm going to size that in. And you can kind of start to see like a bow tie appearing shape. So now, once you're happy with your outline, I'm going to go ahead, you can either leave it as vertex select or go into face select, whichever you prefer. I'm going to grab my bow. I'm going to go into either front or side view, whichever you prefer. E to extrude, and then we're just going to pull that straight up, maybe about there. And then what I'm going to do is deselect these, and we're going to hit E to extrude again and pull this up even more. A bit dramatic. We'll go ahead and reshape it in a second. But that way we get more volume on the actual ribbon bows itself, and the knot kind of stays flat. So I will go ahead and pull this up to make that rounded. Go ahead and go over to your wrench modifier tab, and we're gonna hit subdivision surface. I usually crank it up to 3, but what I also need to make sure I do is all of this gets smoothed out. We don't want any of this smoothed out. So I'm gonna hit Z for wireframe view, select all of this, Shift E, and sharpen it all the way. So you can kind of see our box coming together, but the bow is staying nice and smooth. And of course, if you wanted some of these edges to be smoother, you could reselect them. Like let's say you want these ribbon edges to be a little bit softer. Just do Shift E again, and you can kind of soften them down. Let's give it more of a rounded look. But I'm just gonna leave mine totally sharp, but that's something you could certainly play around with. What I also want to go ahead and do is, so I only have to model 1/2 of this bow, and you don't have to do this. You could certainly model each side. I'm gonna go ahead and grab half of this and delete it. Then I'm gonna go over here, mirror, add clipping, make sure it applied, perfect. And now I only have to model half of this. Oh, except we do have an issue here. Want to make sure. Oh, there it is. Why isn't that working? Is that because of the subdivision? That's fine. We'll just do it like that. Interesting. Oh, is there an extra? No. Whatever. Okay. So now I also want this crease here to be sharpened to make it look like it is actually separate from the knot itself. Or not separate, but a nice crease there. Looks better. Go ahead and grab these 2, pull them back. And you pull everything down, and you pull that in. Start getting more of that divot. Grab those. And this you can probably just have a lot of fun with. Figure out how you want your bow to look. And you pull these down a little bit, pull these down. Maybe widen this out a bit. Maybe even grab all of these, go into side view, rotate it, kind of like that. Maybe even, where is that? Grab these, sharpen it a little bit to kind of pull that in, give it more of separation from the ribbon. This might be a little bit too far out. Maybe pull it down. So yeah, like I said, just have a lot of fun with this. Maybe not that far. More like that. Yeah, that works out. So once you're happy with it, you can go ahead and have a look. I did add a little bit of creasing here, make it look like there was a line across the seam of the knot. Of course, you don't have to do that, and it might be partial to the whole mirror modifier too, which I think that's more of the issue here. But no worries, I kind of like it, honestly. Adds that crease, and once it gets printed out, since it's going to be so small, it won't be that noticeable anyway. Okay, so once you're happy with your present, let me go ahead and rename that. I am going to go ahead and duplicate it for the version that we're going to have as the present mimic. All right, so the way I want to do the mimic is basically for the ribbon, we can kind of pull that up and be the eye sockets. So his eyes will kind of open up out of here. And then for the mouth, if you remember from the Beholder video, we'll go ahead. We're going to grab these front vertices here. And I'm going to have my mouse above here. We're going to use V to rip, and we're going to just pull that up. But I'm going to right click for now because I want to do connected and actually pull that up like that. Maybe make my circle a little bit smaller so that way all of this moves and I'm not just like pulling up that one piece. I'm going to grab this, but you'll notice it grabs a lot of extra. So let me go into wireframe view and deselect these, and I actually don't want those either. I'm gonna pull those down a little bit. Maybe pull it out, make it a little bit more dramatic, like it's coming to life. Grab these again, grab those, kind of like that. Okay, rotate. Okay, same with this, rotate these a little bit. And pull these down, make it a little bit more rounded. And we'll want to go ahead and also, let me turn this off. We're going to extrude this vertice back, and then we'll grab these four and face that off. And then we'll go ahead, make sure that stays flush there, just like that. Perfect. All right. That way that helps with the mouth. Now what we can do is start just kind of shaping it out a little bit more, however you want. I'm actually kind of happy with this shape though. I think it's not until I get the teeth in that I'm really gonna want to change stuff around. So let's also extrude this vertice out and back, and then we'll go ahead, grab these four, face that off, and then I'm gonna sharpen that up. This is a little bit too far back though. So that way there's that lip there. And then what we can do is grab this whole loop, which you'll notice that when I alt right click, it grabbed everything. We're gonna E to extrude, and we're just gonna size in, and then I'll start pulling that in. I'm gonna pull it way back, probably actually, yeah, let's do SY0 to flatten that out. And we'll make it match, actually we won't make it match this. I'm gonna make it go a little bit past that. And then what I can do is, or what we can do is, I'm just gonna line these back up a little bit, just like that. Now to close off the back of the mouth, what we're gonna do is grab these first four vertices here. We'll hit face, grab the next set, face, grab these 5 and hit F for face again. And then because we have this extra vertex here, in order to make that proper, we're gonna grab this edge here, hit W, subdivide, grab this single vertex that creates, go over here, select this vertex as well, and we're gonna hit J for join, and it adds that line in. So that way we're back to squares and we don't have this random 5 vertice square. Okay, So with that, I am going to go ahead and select all of that, and I'm going to actually, let me zoom out a little bit, make sure I do actually have everything, and we're gonna hit Shift E and sharpen it, just instead of pink, have it just kind of like a thicker black line, and see how that looks. And I might even grab these and pull those back to make it look a little bit better. Liking that. Oh, we do have to fix these though. So let's go ahead and grab this line here, Shift E, that one can be all the way creased. Perfect. So our mouth shape is getting closer. While we're out of edit mode, I'm going to go ahead and do Shift E, just kidding, Shift A, and do UV sphere. I'm going to hit 1 for front view, and we're going to go over to this box over here for the settings of our sphere, and I'm going to hit align to view. Now with that, I'm going to go into side view and start sizing this down. Bring that up, size it down some more, grab it, pull it over. Still a little large, maybe more about that size, and then we'll want to go ahead and rotate it up, because typically if I am modeling an actual eye, this part's used for the pupil, so I kind of still imitate that for how I want my eye to be angled and everything. So I'm just kind of mimicking how that would actually need to be. So I might even rotate that a little more, but I think the size is pretty good. So now we can right click back on our present here and start making an eye socket shape. So I'm going to grab these, bring these up, bring this over, and I want them to look kind of angry too. So I'll probably bring this up to start making like a brow shape that's kind of irritated looking. But of course, you know, you figure out what eye shape would be best for your mimic. I'm gonna go into top view as well to try and get this in some more, bring it out. And it's definitely, his eye's still popping out a bunch, so I'm gonna bring this forward, bring that forward. Going to need this to be drawn forward, bring that up and out. I think this needs to be drawn in, and draw these in as well. Maybe something like that. And then we can just Shift D this cube, or I'm sorry, sphere, and pull that into the other side. Nice, that way we can start to see how that would look. Looking good. You definitely want to check the back, make sure there's nothing poking out back here, because you would want to go ahead and reshape that a little bit if you needed to. But I think that's looking pretty good. I might even bring that up a little bit to make it look a little bit rounder, like that. Awesome. So for the teeth, you have a few options. You could certainly just mold them out of these, which I think I don't think I will do, because I don't have the same setup down here, and then it'll be a little wonky. So I think an easier way to do it would be to create them and then boolean them together. So I am going to just go ahead and hide him, hide his eyes. We'll go do eye 1, eye 2 to rename them so I don't get them confused with some of like the Christmas tree ornaments. Okay, so we're gonna do Shift A, mesh, and you could either do a cone. I'm gonna go ahead and do a cylinder though. I'm gonna make sure that's set to Ngon. No, I don't want Ngon, I'm sorry. I need triangle fan, which will look better. Vertices, radius, whatever, that stuff's fine. We're just gonna resize it manually anyway. So let's do S, Shift Z to make that a little bit skinnier, maybe a little bit smaller too. Maybe more like that. Tab in edit mode. Make the base a lot bigger. Pull that out. Maybe more like that. A little bit longer. It doesn't need to be as round, so I'm going to do SY to make it a little bit flatter. More like that. That looks good. So what I'll do next, unhide our mimic and start sizing them appropriately. So we have our first tooth here, which actually, let me rename that to tooth. Size it down and start positioning them how I want them. Sink that in. Actually, I'm gonna unhide his eyes too. And teeth are a little thick, so let me do S, Shift Z to make them a little bit thinner. I think that'll look nicer. And then I'm just going to place them and then resize them appropriately. Maybe more like that. You could certainly do some side ones as well. I think I'm gonna leave mine as is. But let's grab this one. I just want to shrink that one down. Same with this one and this one. More like that. Let me make that one longer. More like that. Oh, and then you definitely want to check the top. However, this part is bothering me. I don't think I want this part sharpened. So I'm gonna unsharpen that. That looks much better. I like that, but we still definitely need to bring this down. There we go. And then what we can do is go ahead, grab all of these, Shift D to duplicate them, draw them over, maybe about there. We're gonna do Control M X to mirror that, and then you can double check, make sure everything looks like it's kind of in the same spot, which actually I think that worked out really well. That worked perfect. So the only concern is sometimes when you mirror things like that, they also turn inside out. So it doesn't hurt to go in, hit spacebar, type in normals, make normals consistent, that kind of thing. They look fine right now. We'll find out later with the Boolean if it actually is messed up or not. But typically if it's like a darker shading, it's flipped inside out. So make sure it looks consistent with everything else. Now that's just the top row of teeth. What we're also going to do is do the bottom row. So let me grab, oops, all of these teeth, Shift D, and we'll just go ahead and pull them down like this. We're going to do Control M again, but instead we'll do Z, enter, and then we'll have to reposition and resize some of them. So we at least have them basically where we want them, but, or where we need them, but need to size that down, bring it over, this over, size that down, try to keep it a little consistent, that over, oops, right there, something like that. There we go, and there is your mimic present. So what we can do, we're gonna apply the modifiers, add a modifier, do Boolean, union, copy that, and we'll go ahead and just do the eyes first. Hide them. Looks like they stayed. Okay, so we'll apply them, tab into edit mode, and make sure that they applied properly, which they did. There's nothing extra on the inside. Perfect. So then we'll go ahead and do all the teeth, which I'll go ahead and just fast forward through. All right, guys, so our teeth applied properly. If you watched me go through the fast forward there, you'll notice that the first teeth here and here weren't applying properly, so I had to do the select all, Control A, apply the rotation and scale. That fixed that, and then I had to just go in and fix the normals, so just hit spacebar, make normals consistent, and that was that. So there is our Mimic present. Let's go ahead and unhide the original present as well. We're going to go ahead and grab both, hit M, move those to be under our Christmas tree, and see what we think. Move them. Actually, those sizes aren't that bad. I'm going to change this to individual origins and just size them down a little bit, be more like that. And there we go. Place them under a little bit more. You can have fun with your present and maybe even a Mimic present. So let me know what you guys thought of this video, if you have any questions or any recommendations for next time. Like I said, after this Christmas video, I'm going to start for the New Year some more dungeon stuff. So we're leaving behind the Inn and Tavern series. Maybe sometime in the future we'll revisit those, but for now I thought it'd be a lot more fun to do some actual dungeon scenes. So how to make stone walls and floors and more kind of traps and stuff that you would use more often. So yeah, if you have any requests, let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next week.